"Ranger, find her! Find the girl!" Marcus Webb's voice cut through the roar of flames as his German shepherd bolted into the burning apartment building. Smoke poured from the second-floor windows, and somewhere inside, a child was screaming. Marcus didn't hesitate. At 35, the former Army combat medic had faced worse. IEDs in Afghanistan, firefights that left his unit scattered, the explosion that took 3 of his brothers in arms and left him with a steel rod in his leg and nightmares that wouldn't quit. But he'd also learned something in those desert sands. You don't turn away when someone needs saving. He'd been walking past the old apartment complex with Ranger when the fire started. Faulty wiring, someone would later say. Most residents had evacuated, but panic was everywhere, and in the chaos, a young mother was screaming that her daughter was still inside. "She went back for her teddy bear! Please, someone! She's only 4!" Marcus saw the fear in the woman's eyes, the same helpless terror he'd seen in villages overseas. Without a word, he handed his worn jacket to a bystander and followed Ranger inside. The heat was suffocating. Smoke clawed at his lungs, and his leg ached with each step. But Marcus pushed forward. Ranger's training from their days in the service kicked in. The dog had been an explosives detection specialist, his partner through 2 deployments. When Marcus was medically discharged and drowning in survivor's guilt, the military allowed him to adopt Ranger. The dog had quite literally saved his life, sensing Marcus's panic attacks before they spiraled, pulling him back from dark thoughts on the worst nights. "Ranger!" Marcus called, squinting through the smoke. A bark, sharp, urgent. Second floor, bedroom on the left. Marcus climbed the stairs, his lungs burning. He found the little girl huddled in a corner, clutching a singed teddy bear, her face streaked with tears. Ranger stood guard, his body positioned between her and the advancing flames. "It's okay, sweetheart. I've got you." Marcus scooped her up, wrapped her in his shirt, and ran. The stairwell was engulfed now, so he kicked open a window and lowered himself onto the fire escape, every movement sending pain shooting through his injured leg. Ranger leapt after them, and together they descended. When Marcus handed the little girl to the paramedics, her mother collapsed beside her, sobbing, "Oh, thank you! Oh, God, thank you!" Marcus just nodded, suddenly exhausted. Ranger pressed against his leg, sensing his pain. "Good boy," he whispered. Then he walked away, limping into the gathering crowd before anyone could ask his name. Hours later, Marcus sat in his small studio apartment, ice on his leg, Ranger's head in his lap. He didn't think of himself as a hero, just a man trying to outrun the ghosts of the friends he couldn't save. Every person he helped was a small repayment for the debt he felt he owed. The knock on his door surprised him. The woman standing there was poised, elegant, her designer suit at odds with the working-class neighborhood, but her eyes were red from crying. "I'm Victoria Brennan, Mr. Webb. You saved my daughter this morning." Marcus blinked. "How did—" "She knew your name. I had to find you." She sobbed. "I'm sorry to intrude, but I needed to—" She stopped, pulling an envelope from her purse. "Please, I own Brennan Enterprises. This is the least I can do." Marcus gently pushed it back. "Ma'am, I don't want your money." Victoria looked stricken. "Please, you don't understand. My daughter, Sophie, she's everything. I've built this company from nothing, worked 80-hour weeks, and I thought I was doing it for her. But her father, my husband, Richard, he never wanted children. He resented every moment I spent with Sophie. When she was born, he said I'd ruined my body, ruined our life. He's filed for divorce, fighting me for the business I built. He doesn't want custody, he just wants to hurt me." Her eyes filled with tears. "This morning, I was in a board meeting when I got the call about the fire. I realized I almost lost her, and all Richard cared about was whether the publicity would affect our stock price. You risked your life for a child you'd never met, while her own father—" Marcus's chest tightened. He gestured for her to sit. "I don't need money," he said quietly. "I live simply. I volunteer at the VA hospital, help other veterans adjust. Ranger and I, we're okay." Then what can I do?" Victoria asked desperately. "How can I thank you?" Marcus thought for a moment, stroking Ranger's fur. "The VA is understaffed. Guys come home broken, and there's nowhere near enough support. If you want to help, start there." Victoria stared at him. "You're serious?" "PTSD, depression, homelessness. These men and women gave everything. They need jobs, therapy, housing. If you really want to thank me, help them." Something shifted in Victoria's expression. "You're not like anyone I've ever met." Over the following weeks, Marcus was surprised when Victoria returned, not with a check, but with questions. She toured VA facilities with him, met veterans, listened to their stories. She hired 4 veterans at her company, created a mental health initiative, funded housing assistance, and slowly she began to share her own story. "I married Richard when I was 22. He was charming, successful. I thought I'd won. But as I built my business, he became cruel. He'd mock my ideas, undermine me in front of others. When I got pregnant, he said I'd trapped him. Sophie is the one pure thing in my life, but I'm terrified. I'm raising her in a home filled with his contempt." Marcus listened, and in her vulnerability, he saw the same pain he'd counseled in countless veterans. "You're stronger than you think," he said gently. "You built an empire. You're fighting for your daughter. That's courage. You rushed into a burning building with a broken leg. That's courage." "No," Marcus said. "That's just paying forward what I owe. The guys I lost, they'd have done the same." Months passed. Victoria's divorce proceedings were brutal, but with Marcus's quiet support and the clarity she'd gained, she held firm. Richard's attempts to take the company failed when Victoria's board stood with her. Sophie, meanwhile, adored Ranger and asked constantly when she could see the hero dog and the brave soldier again. One Saturday afternoon, Victoria brought Sophie to the park where Marcus volunteered, helping veterans train service dogs. Sophie ran to Ranger, who licked her face, tail wagging. "Mr. Marcus," Sophie said seriously, "Mommy says you're the bravest person she knows." Marcus smiled. "Your mommy's pretty brave too." Victoria approached, and for a moment, something unspoken passed between them. Not romance, but recognition. Two people who'd survived their own fires, finding unexpected friendship in the ashes. "You changed my life," Victoria said softly. "Not because you saved Sophie, but because you showed me what real strength looks like. It's not about power or money or control. It's about showing up for people when everything's burning down." Marcus's throat tightened. "You did the same for me. I was just existing. You reminded me that moving forward matters." Sophie tugged Victoria's hand. "Mommy, can we bring cupcakes for all the puppies next time?" They both laughed, and in that sound there was healing. As the sun set over the park, Ranger chased Sophie through the grass, and Marcus felt something he hadn't in years: peace. Not because the past was erased, but because the present held purpose. Victoria sat beside him on the bench. "Thank you," she whispered, "for teaching me that the best way to honor what we've been through is to make sure no one else faces it alone." Marcus nodded, watching Sophie's joy. "That's what heroes do," he said. "They light the way home for everyone still lost in the dark."
If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, subscribe, and comment.